When your children don't show you respect, try these 6 effective strategies to restore it. Experienced. At a certain stage in life, the dynamics between parents and their offspring begin to evolve. You dedicate years nurturing them, directing them, and making sacrifices for their well-being. However, there comes a moment when you notice a shift has occurred. It's possible they overlook your recommendations. Perhaps your insights are overlooked. It can be disheartening when others speak to you in a condescending manner, or even more troubling, make you feel like a burden. That experience can be quite painful. When your children begin to show you less respect than you rightfully deserve, it's natural to feel a sense of frustration or even anger. It may be beneficial to highlight all the efforts you've made on their behalf, emphasizing the time dedicated to prioritizing their needs. However, the reality is that expressing anger will not resolve the issue. In reality, it frequently exacerbates the situation. Instead, there exists a significantly more constructive approach to restore their respect, free from conflict, disputes, and lingering bitterness. Today, I will discuss 6 strategies to consider when facing a lack of respect from your children. These are significant adjustments, straightforward modifications in your reactions that can entirely reshape their perception of you. Some of these insights may catch you off guard, but if you remain engaged until the conclusion, you'll uncover ways to restore your status as a respected and valued presence in their lives. Let's begin our journey. Step 1. Cease seeking their validation. One of the most significant errors caregivers often commit, particularly as they advance in age, is exerting excessive effort to satisfy their offspring. Perhaps you've observed yourself engaging in that behavior. You consistently make an effort to meet their needs. You agree when you really wish to decline. You prioritize their needs over your own, believing that by doing enough you will gain their appreciation. However, the reality is quite difficult to accept. The more you seek their validation, the more you diminish their regard for you. Do you understand what I'm saying? Respect is not something that comes from putting oneself last. It is attained through a deep sense of self-worth. If you constantly prioritize others, consistently yield to their demands and strive to maintain harmony, you are inadvertently conveying that your emotions are of lesser importance. Once they begin to embrace that mindset, it becomes effortless for them to overlook your contributions. I once knew a woman named Margaret, a resilient and self-sufficient individual in her earlier days. However, as she aged, she began to allow her children to take charge of all the decision-making. She adjusted her timetable to accommodate their requirements, held back her thoughts, and overlooked the condescending manner in which they addressed her. Her words resonated with a deep commitment to unity as she expressed her desire to maintain the family's bond. Can you clarify what transpired? Her children no longer recognized her worth. They perceived her as a person who would consistently adapt, readily concur, and remain quiet. She believed she was maintaining harmony. However, what she was truly experiencing was a gradual loss of her voice. When facing a lack of respect from your children, the initial approach shouldn't be to impose demands. It's time to cease the behavior of appearing as though you require it. Establish limits. It's important to assert yourself and decline when necessary. Express your thoughts openly, regardless of whether others may disagree with your perspective. As soon as you begin to value yourself, others will begin to perceive you in a new light. With patience, the respect you give will eventually return to you. Step 2. Avoid disputes. Set a positive example. When your children disregard your views, interrupt you, or show you disrespect, your initial reaction may be to engage in a debate, to recount all your efforts, or to insist that they pay attention. However, I must emphasize that one key insight can spare you countless years of frustration. Engaging in arguments is rarely effective. Consider this. When was the last time you advocated for your own respect through determination? Respect is not achieved by mere words. It is cultivated through your demeanor, the manner in which you conduct yourself and how you react when faced with challenges to your composure. Responding to disrespect with anger only reinforces their belief that they hold power over you. I knew a man named Frank, a retired educator who dedicated his life to guiding students with assurance. However, within the confines of his home, his adult children began to regard him as an inconsequential presence. They overlooked his recommendations, brushed aside his worries, and at times even chuckled when he attempted to offer guidance. Initially, he countered their points, striving to demonstrate that he was still worthy of their esteem. However, the harder he struggled, the more challenging the situation became. Then one day Frank decided to take a different approach. Rather than engaging in a debate, he began to truly hear what was being said. He ceased pursuing validation through speech, and instead conducted himself as someone who inherently possessed it. He communicated with a serene demeanor, exuding knowledge, focused on understanding rather than competition. Gradually, his children began to observe. They observed an individual who exuded confidence without seeking validation, who had no need to demonstrate his worth, who stood as a figure of strength. If your children lack respect for you, it's best not to engage in conflict over it. Demonstrate the essence of respect through your self-care and personal treatment. Maintain your self-respect, communicate with assurance, and above all, maintain your standards and do not stoop to their level. When you stand firm with poise, others will sense it, and eventually, they will be inspired to follow your example. If you are still engaged with this video and appreciating the insights provided, kindly comment with the number 2 below to indicate your presence. If you haven't subscribed yet, I highly encourage you to do so and activate the notification bell to ensure you stay updated with all our videos. Your assistance enables us to keep producing valuable content that educates and motivates you. Let's proceed with the next steps. Step 3. Detach your emotional reliance. One of the most challenging realizations that comes with age is understanding that emotional fulfillment cannot be solely reliant on your children. Your feelings for them may run deep, and you likely desire their love and respect in return. However, once they perceive that their value is essential to you, the dynamics of the relationship change significantly. The truth is, individuals, including your own offspring, honor individuals who possess emotional autonomy. When you depend on others for validation, affection, or attention, it creates pressure on them. Rather than experiencing gratitude, they begin to feel overwhelmed. They may distance themselves. They may begin to exhibit signs of impatience or even annoyance towards you. The more you pursue their affection, the more restricted it becomes. I once encountered a woman named Helen. She was a compassionate caregiver who devoted herself entirely to her family. As they advanced in age and became engrossed in their own pursuits, she discovered herself lingering by the phone, yearning for their call. When they failed to reach out, she took the initiative to call them, frequently, perhaps excessively. She expressed her longing for their company and her desire for more frequent visits. However, rather than fostering connection, it created distance. They began to perceive her calls as a duty rather than an enjoyable interaction. Then one day, Helen took a new approach. She ceased her anticipation. She ceased to initiate contact. Instead, she began prioritizing her own well-being, exploring new interests, socializing with friends, and nurturing her personal happiness. A surprising development occurred. Her offspring began reaching out more frequently. They began to value her time, recognizing her as an individual with a rich and fulfilling life. The concept is straightforward. When you reduce your reliance on your children for a sense of purpose, they will begin to appreciate your presence more deeply. When you demonstrate your ability to stand independently, others will begin to respect you, not out of duty, but because they truly appreciate the life you have created for yourself. Step 4. Establish clear boundaries and ensure they are upheld. One significant factor contributing to a decline in children's respect for their parents is the parents' own actions that permit it. When you permit your children to speak to you in a disrespectful manner, disregard your viewpoints, or act as though your time and emotions are insignificant, this behavior will persist. It's not that they have ill intentions. Rather, individuals, particularly those close to you, will consistently respond to you in the manner you permit. Establishing limits does not equate to severing ties with your children or fostering discord. It involves making a composed and resolute choice regarding the behaviors you are willing to tolerate and those you are not. Moreover, it signifies the necessity of upholding those boundaries when they are violated. I recall a gentleman named Robert, a retired entrepreneur who dedicated his career to managing a business with unwavering discipline and assurance. However, he faced challenges when it involved his grown children. They cut him off mid-sentence, brushed aside his worries, and even took issue with his lifestyle choices. Initially, he managed to cope with it. He reassured himself that engaging in conflict was not beneficial. However, as time passed, he came to understand that his silence was conveying a message that their actions were permissible. One day, Robert decided to take a different approach. When his son interrupted him, he composedly stated, "I'll proceed with my thoughts when you're prepared to engage." When his daughter dismissed his opinion, he calmly responded, "You may not agree with me, but I expect you to show me respect." When they persisted in testing his boundaries, he firmly stated that without basic respect, he would not be engaging with them. Do you want to hear what transpired? They began to pay attention. Initially, there was some reluctance. However, as time passed, they came to understand that their father was steadfast in his position. They recognized that he held himself in high regard, insisting on the respect he deserved. As a result, they began administering it to him. If your children are not showing you the respect you deserve, it may be worth reflecting on whether you are inadvertently permitting this behavior. It's essential to establish your own limits. Otherwise, others will impose theirs on you. If you don't advocate for yourself, no one else is likely to do it for you. If you're still engaged with this video and appreciating the insights shared, kindly comment with the number 4 below to indicate your presence. If you haven't subscribed yet, I highly encourage you to do so, and activate the notification bell to ensure you stay updated with all the latest videos. Your assistance enables us to keep producing valuable content that educates and motivates you. Let's proceed with the next steps. Step 5. Cease providing without acknowledgement. One of the fastest paths to diminishing your esteem is to continue offering to those who fail to value it. As caregivers, we engage in this practice more frequently than we may acknowledge. We dedicate our time, our energy, and our support, even in the face of unacknowledgement, even when it is taken for granted, and even when we encounter a sense of entitlement. However, the reality is this. When you offer support to someone who fails to recognize it, you do not cultivate affection. Respect is not something that can be constructed. You create anticipation. They begin to perceive your kindness not as a precious gift, but rather as something they inherently deserve. Once you cease your efforts, appreciation tends to diminish. They experience a sense of disruption. I once knew a man named George, a devoted father who consistently showed generosity towards his children. He provided financial support whenever necessary, prioritized their needs above all else, and adjusted his life to ensure they received the assistance they required. However, rather than receiving appreciation, he encountered grievances. They failed to express their gratitude. They anticipated greater outcomes. And the most frustrating aspect was that when he finally required their assistance, they were preoccupied. Then one day, George decided to take a different approach. He learned to set boundaries for himself. He ceased to provide assistance even before it was requested. And most crucially, he began to assert himself by declining when necessary. Initially, his children experienced feelings of frustration. They failed to grasp why he was no longer going above and beyond for them. However, as time progressed, a change occurred. They began to appreciate the importance of his time. They began to recognize his contributions as they came to understand that his kindness had its limits. It was an opportunity, not an assurance. If you sense that your children are not valuing your time, effort, or kindness, it may be beneficial to take a moment to reflect. Reflect on whether you are contributing beyond your limits. What would be the consequences if you were to cease that action? When you convey that your kindness is dependent on mutual respect, individuals will begin to perceive it in that manner. Step 6. Create a fulfilling life beyond their influence. One of the most effective methods to earn your children's respect is to demonstrate that your happiness is not solely dependent on them. As caregivers, it's instinctive to dedicate ourselves to our offspring, placing them at the heart of our existence. However, as we age, that dynamic changes. If you have dedicated your whole life to prioritizing their needs, they might begin to perceive you as someone lacking other pursuits. Individuals earn admiration when they possess a clear purpose, pursue their own interests, and cultivate a genuine sense of fulfillment. When children observe that you depend on them for amusement, affirmation, or purpose, it can lead to feelings of being overwhelmed, or, even more concerning, distressed. They may begin to perceive you as an individual, lacking personal pursuits. I encountered a woman named Eleanor, a widow in her late 70s. Following the loss of her husband, she dedicated herself entirely to her children's lives, frequently reaching out, offering unsolicited guidance, and hoping they would occupy the void left by her partner. However, rather than bringing them together, it created distance between them. Their visits dwindled, conversations became brief, and Eleanor experienced a profound sense of isolation. Then she took a decisive step. She became a member of a book club. She began embarking on journeys with her companions. She dedicated her time to a local community center. She shifted her focus away from making her children the center of her universe, and an amazing transformation occurred. Her offspring began to connect more frequently. They expressed interest in her activities. They respected her autonomy. She earned their respect. If your children lack respect for you, consider whether they perceive you as an individual leading a fulfilling and purposeful life. Or do they perceive you as someone who is merely biding their time for recognition? When you demonstrate that you are truly living and not merely going through the motions, others will begin to perceive you in an entirely new way. If you're still engaged with this video and appreciating these insights, kindly comment number 6 below to indicate your presence. If you haven't subscribed yet, I highly encourage you to do so and activate the notification bell to stay updated with all our videos. Your support enables us to keep producing valuable content that informs and motivates you. In conclusion, earning respect from your children is not something that can be forced. Your influence comes from how you present yourself, how you establish limits, and how you navigate your daily existence. If you notice a decline in the level of care, consideration, or respect you receive, it's best not to expend your energy on anger. Consider altering your strategy. Cease the pursuit of their validation. The more self-sufficient you become, the more they will naturally offer it. Set a standard through your actions, as your integrity resonates more profoundly than your speech. Detach from emotional reliance, as increased self-sufficiency will enhance the respect others have for your presence. Establish limits, as individuals will only regard you according to the standards you set for them. Cease the act of giving without recognition, for when kindness is overlooked, it diminishes in worth. Above all, cultivate a life beyond their influence, as individuals are admired for possessing their own goals, happiness, and sense of achievement. By implementing these strategies, you will witness remarkable outcomes. Your children will begin to perceive you differently, not as someone seeking their attention, but as an individual who naturally earns respect through their very presence. Over time, the respect you seek will naturally return to you, not through demands, but as a result of your efforts and integrity. We appreciate your presence with us today. We welcome your feedback and insights. We invite you to share your insights by leaving a comment below. What is one valuable lesson you discovered today, and how do you intend to incorporate it into your daily life? Your insights hold great value, so please feel free to express them. Your feedback inspires and uplifts us greatly. If you found this video valuable and enjoyable, we would appreciate your support through likes, subscriptions, and shares. Your support enables us to keep producing valuable content that informs and motivates you. Thank you for tuning in, and we eagerly anticipate your presence in our next video.